Welcome, honored guests, fellow alumni, family and friends, Mom. It's wonderful to see you all here. Welcome to the 143rd annual meeting of the Harvard Alumni Association on this most happy occasion of the university's 375th anniversary, as you just saw in the video. I'm Ellen Gordon-Reeves, member and secretary of the class of 1983, School of Education, class of '86. As the 133rd president of the Harvard Alumni Association, the HAA for short, and in accordance with the tradition set by our very first HAA president, John Quincy Adams, I now raise this gavel and hereby call the meeting to order. This morning, after receiving their degrees from the college and the graduate schools, 7,500 new alumni joined our ranks. All graduates automatically become lifelong members of the HAA with the many privileges and resources we hope to help you discover in the coming years. Congratulations and welcome to an astounding community made only richer by your presence among us. I also want to congratulate your parents, families, extended families and friends, faculty and staff across the university, the people who have believed in you and supported you throughout your time at Harvard, and to acknowledge those who are not with us today, but who would be very proud and who are very much here in spirit. When the Harvard Alumni Association was founded in 1840, there were no more than 10,000 living alumni. Today, you've joined the ranks of over 360,000 Harvard alumni in 185 countries, including 50,000 living outside the United States. We want to welcome you and we want to celebrate you. So please turn to your program and join me in singing Gaudeamus Igitur, or in English, So Let Us Rejoice. I've been singing, or should I say lip-syncing, that song for years, but it wasn't until the other night that I finally decided to look it up. According to the impeccable academic source known as Wikipedia, from which I quote, "Despite its use as a formal graduation hymn, Gaudeamus Igitur, otherwise known as De Brevitate Vitae, on the shortness of life, is actually a jocular, light-hearted composition that pokes fun at university life dating back to the 18th century based on a Latin manuscript from 1287. A beer-drinking song in many ancient universities, its lyrics tout the bacchanalian mayhem of student life and offer an exhortation to live life to the fullest, gaudeamus, while simultaneously reminding us, nos habebit humus, one day we will all be dead. And now I know why we sing it in Latin. And why we sing only the very first and last verses, and how greatly the translations from the Latin vary. But I'll leave that scholarly investigation up to you, gaudeamus. Well, rejoice I have. It has been more fun than I could ever imagine to be the head of the HAA, especially during the 375th anniversary year. I even got to lead an alumni parade through the streets of Cambridge with Jack Reardon by my side and the Hasty Pudding guys and the band behind me. And I have to admit, in that moment, I felt I was born to lead a parade, an ambition I never even knew I had. I have traveled the country and around the globe, from Europe and Latin America to India, meeting alumni and world leaders from Lech Walesa and President Obama to the perhaps lesser known but more amply bearded Maharana of Udaipur, to name just a few, and it was all very exciting. But what is more exciting to me, and certainly more enduring, is that we celebrate the growth of an institution founded in 1636 to educate white male ministers. And here we are today, men and women of all religions and backgrounds and intended professions, from all of the different nations and faculties you represent. That is change of which we should all be proud. What hasn't changed is that Harvard still stands for an unparalleled tradition of leadership and a relentless aspiration to excellence. In the house where I grew up, in Providence, Rhode Island, my mother still has a quote from Henry David Thoreau on the refrigerator. I arise each day torn between the desire to enjoy the world and to improve it. Harvard and our connection through the HAA help us to do both if we are willing to reach out. A few years ago, I did what any French and American history and lit concentrator does after writing a thesis on Sartre and the role of fiction in existentialism. I wrote a how-to book called Can I Wear My Nose Ring to the Interview? A job hunting guide for recent grads. My mantra is stop looking for a job and start looking for a person. The right person will lead you to the right job or opportunity or whatever you're looking for. This is why I love being involved with the HAA, because our mission is to connect alumni to each other, to students, and to the university, to help our students, faculty, staff, and alumni articulate and execute their dreams and visions for themselves and for society. But you don't have to be the president of the HAA to reach out. An empty seat next to you, a person unmet, is a lost opportunity. All year, I've opened every meeting by asking people to meet each other. They are called meetings, after all. I did it last year at class day with Amy Poehler, and all of a sudden the yard was buzzing as people connected, but I forgot to warn security. And I think that might be why, when I asked them if I could do it again this year, they said maybe not. So I will ask you to do one thing for me. When this afternoon is over, or during the next few days at reunions or wherever you're going, please reach out and introduce yourself to somebody you don't know. Don't wait for someone else to break the ice. Blame it on me. Take the HAA Connection Challenge. It totally floats my boat to think that maybe in the next 24 hours, or at your next reunion, or on a street halfway around the world, you might just reconnect with this person. A stranger will have become a familiar face, and after that, possibly, a friend. And that's what the HAA is all about. There is a line from the Radcliffe commemorative service that has always stayed with me. To be even so small a part of so great a thing is greatness itself. I hope you will revel in the greatness that is your part of this magnificent institution and this incomparable community, and I thank you for the opportunity to lead the timeless parade that is the HAA. Gaudeamus Igitur. Thank you. Now, let's turn our attention to three today, others who have led the alumni parade. In a most humbling and inspiring tradition, we recognize the senior alumni who led the parade this very afternoon. From the Radcliffe class of 1944, we have Frances Downing Vaughn, who just celebrated her 90th birthday 2 days ago. Where are you? Please stand, Frances. From the class of 1930, Donald Brown, who will turn 82 this November. Donald. 104? Wait, excuse me, 104. Thank you. 104, okay. I knew my math was bad, but thank you for the correction. And representing the oldest class, we have Professor George Barner from the class of 1929. Thank you. Thank you all for leading our alumni today. It's an honor to celebrate you, and if I'm lucky, you might just see me back here in 50 years or so. Now, let's turn our attention to the other end of the continuum. 9 years ago, Harvard created the Crimson Summer Academy as part of our ongoing commitment to increasing low-income students' access to higher education. In the summer of 2009, the university welcomed its sixth group of high school sophomores from Boston and Cambridge. They're here with us today, Harvard's youngest graduates and now alumni of the Crimson Summer Academy. After living and studying on campus for 3 consecutive summers, the Crimson Scholars, as these outstanding young people are known, have been accepted at equally outstanding colleges and universities. I'd like to ask them to rise so that we may honor this class of CSA scholars with our deepest respect and our best wishes for their success in the future. Congratulations. There they are. Raphael. Now it is my privilege to present a member of the class of 1987. Elected by his classmates to serve as Chief Marshal on the occasion of this, their 25th reunion. His dedication to helping shape policy and teaching leaders who will actually make a difference to improve the lives of Americans and others around the world marks him as a model Harvard citizen, a man committed to both mind and action. As a professor at the University of Southern California, he studied how credit markets, financing, and government policy affect families' access to homes. He was also director of USC's Master of Real Estate Development degree program and the founding director of the Kasdan Real Estate Economics Forecast. Before that, he was a member of the Federal Reserve Board of Governors, where his work on the Community Reinvestment Act earned him a Special Achievement Award. Now an expert on housing and home ownership, he serves as the Assistant Secretary for Policy Development and Research at the Department of Housing and Urban Development. We recognize a fellow graduate who has committed his life to education, research, and advocacy. Chief Marshal Raphael Bostic, would you please rise? On June 30th, I will, with some reluctance, and I suppose a little relief, turn over the gavel to one of the Alumni Association's most enthusiastic supporters, a member of the college class of 1973 and the Harvard Business School and the Harvard Law School class of 1976. Carl Muller has not only given generously of his time and energy to the university and to the HAA in particular, but he has even given us his two daughters, Amelia, class of 2011, and Elida, class of 2005. I'm so excited for Carl because I'm sure he has no idea just how much fun is in store for him next year. Beneath that bow tie and soft-spoken Southern charm lie an incisive legal and literary mind, a terrific sense of humor, and an affinity for great barbecue. I know I leave the HAA in great hands. Mr. President-elect Carl Muller, would you please stand? I would also like to acknowledge another very special guest among the many of you here to celebrate Harvard's 375th anniversary today. One of Harvard's most illustrious alumni, a former Harvard professor, Nobel laureate, and poet, Seamus Heaney. It is my great pleasure to report news of recent elections to Harvard's governing boards. I'm pleased to announce that Paul Finnegan, AB 75, MBA 82, a former elected director and president of the HAA, was elected yesterday as the newest member of the President and Fellows of Harvard College. He will join the corporation on July 1st. Next, the results of this spring's election for Harvard's Board of Overseers and elected directors of the HAA. Thanks to all of you who voted and participated. Please hold your applause until all the names in each category are announced. 6 individuals have been elected to the Board of Overseers. 5 will serve 6-year terms. They are Scott Abel, AB 72 of Boston, James Johnson, class of 83, JD 86 of Montclair, New Jersey, Tracy Palangin, AB 83, MBA 97 of Belmont, Swati Paramel, MPH 92 of Mumbai, and Catherine Taylor, AB 80 of San Francisco. Now you may applaud. In addition, a 6th overseer has been elected to complete the final 2 years of Paul Finnegan's term as overseer. He is Michael Linton, AB 82, MBA 87 of Los Angeles. Congratulations. The following 6 alumni have been elected as directors of the Harvard Alumni Association to serve for 3 years each. John Bowman, AB 80, MBA 85 of Santa Monica, California. Yvonne Campos, JD 88 of San Diego. John Jackson, Ed School 98, EDD 01 of Cambridge. Michael Kerr, AB 81, MBA 85 of Canyon Country, California. E. Scott Mead, AB 77 of London, and Brian Melendez, AB 86, JD 90, MTS 91 of Minneapolis, Minnesota. Congratulations. We look forward to working with all of you and continuing to shape Harvard's future. In honor of Harvard's 375th anniversary, please join me in welcoming the college's two longest-standing a cappella singing groups, the Radcliffe Pitches and the Harvard Crocodillos.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, alumni, esteemed guests, family, and friends, and congratulations again to the class of 2012. It is an honor to perform for you today. We are the Radcliffe Pitches, Harvard's oldest all-female a cappella group, founded in 1975 in the historic Hasty Pudding Club. We are thrilled to be a part of this afternoon's celebration of both Harvard's illustrious 375-year legacy and the accomplishments of all of our students and alumni. And now, in honor of our new graduates and all of the great things that we cannot wait to see you achieve, please enjoy. This could be the start of something great.
You're at a party, or else you're alone, and then you suddenly dig. You're looking in someone's eyes, you suddenly realize that this could be the start of something big. You're lunching at 21, you're watching your diet, declining a chocolate mousse, accepting a thing. When out of a clear blue sky, it's suddenly girl and guy, and this could be the start of something big. There's no controlling the unrolling of your fate, my friend. Who knows what's written in the magic book? But when a lover you discover at the gate, my friend, invite him in without a second look. You're up in an aeroplane or dining at Sardi's, or else you're in Malibu, alone on the sand. You suddenly hear a bell, and right away you can tell that this could be the start of something grand. Or do your income tax, or buying a toothbrush, or hurrying home because the hour is late. So suddenly there you go, the very next thing you know, that this could be the start of something great. You're having a snowball fight, or making up daisies, or singing a happy tune, or knocking on wood, when all of a sudden you look up and there's something new. Oh, this could be the start of something good. Your destined lover you'll discover in a frightening flash, so keep your heart awake both night and day. Because the meeting may be fleeting as a lightning flash, and you don't want to let it slip away. You're watching the sun come up, or counting your money, or else in a dim cafe you're ordering wine. Suddenly there he is, you want to be where he is, and this could be the start of something. This could be the heart of something. This could be the start of something fine, so fine, so fine, so fine.
Harvard University's oldest a cappella singing group, founded back in 1946. Now, over Harvard's long 375-year history, a lot has changed here at Harvard and around the world. And that change has been driven, in part, by countless students, just like the ones graduating today. So in keeping with that theme, we hope you enjoy our arrangement of Sam Cooke's A Change Is Gonna Come.
Change gon' come. Yes, it will.
Thank you. We have one more song for you. And most of you are probably sick of hearing it by now, but I think a lot of you will also know it, so feel free to join in if you'd like.
10,000 men of Harvard want victory today, for they know that all life their Harvard holds sway. So then we'll conquer all the lives men, and when the game ends, we'll sing again. 10,000 men of Harvard gain victory today. 10,000 men of Harvard want victory today. they know that all elite like their Harvard will sway. So then we'll conquer all Eli's men, and when the game ends, we'll sing again. 10,000 men of Harvard gained victory today. 10,000 men of Harvard gained victory today.
Thank you. At this annual meeting, the Harvard Alumni Association confers the Harvard Medal, our highest honor, for extraordinary service to the university. We recognize those whose devotion has been exemplary and inspirational. President Faust will read the citations. Would each medalist please rise as your name is announced?
Charles W. Collier, MTS 73. Fearless and faithful fundraiser, you have served Harvard through your deep knowledge of philanthropy, careful diplomacy, and hard work, giving alumni a wealth of planned opportunities to participate in the life of this university and leaving a legacy that has enriched us all. Charles Collier. Ellen R. Gordon, GSA 69, and Melvin J. Gordon, AB 41, MBA 43. As proud parents and partners, you have worked together to advance the university's mission in medicine, science, health, and athletics. Through your outstanding generosity and loyal support, you have made Harvard's family your own. Ellen and Melvin Gordon. Oh, there are two. Harry L. Parker, Olympian oarsman and Crimson coach, better than the best at what you do. You have led the Harvard men's crew to victory for more than half a century, instilling in your student athletes lessons of courage, determination, and strength that have led to success not only on the water, but in their lives. Harry Parker. Susan S. Wallach, AB 68, JD 71. As a Radcliffe trustee, Harvard overseer, and wise counselor to presidents and deans, you have helped stimulate new connections among Harvard's myriad people and parts, with special care for the humanities and arts, for law and education, and for the steady advancement of women. Susan Wallach.
Now, we'll hear from the medalists themselves in a special video tribute. You may also read more about them in your program.
I think of myself as a teacher, fairly narrow curriculum. You might say what I do really is help nurture traits that are already there within the growers. You know, they come here, they're highly motivated, clearly they're competitive, they're smart, and then what I do consciously or unconsciously is create an environment that fosters or strengthens those traits.
Why have I stayed so involved with Harvard? I think because I'm tremendously grateful for my education. I was born in 1946 at a time when women were really not encouraged to be independent thinkers. My life has been so interesting and so wonderful as a result of this education that I feel it's my duty but also my pleasure to give back in every way.
Our support of the Harvard Medical School has personally affected me when I've had problems of health. They've helped tremendously, and my life expectancy when I went to college was 72. They brought me along now to 92 plus. So I'm very indebted to Harvard Medical School.
One really gains much more from the institution than one serves the institution. There's so many different resources and many disciplines that get together and collaborate at Harvard. So while many institutions have unique qualities and excellence, having so much talent together gives a chance to have extraordinary discoveries.
Harvard encouraged me to do something new, to be an innovator. That meant serving as a resource for families to help them face broader financial challenges. I have a real passion for helping families make good decisions about their future. As many of you know, Alzheimer's led to my retirement. Harvard will always be an important part of my life.
One of the most gratifying things I got to do this year was to call each winner and share the exciting news with them. Congratulations again. I now welcome our treasurer and member of the Harvard Corporation, James Rothenberg, AB 68, MBA 70, for a salute to the alumni.
President Faust, Mr. Zakaria, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. As Harvard's 375th anniversary celebration draws to a close, we look back on the past year with a great sense of pride and with deep gratitude to Harvard's alumni community around the world. To our alumni, our students and parents, our faculty, staff, and friends, thank you for your loyalty and your tireless support. And to President Ellen Gordon Reeves and the Harvard Alumni Association, our sincere appreciation for another extraordinary year. Since we last gathered, nearly 24,000 alumni have volunteered on behalf of the university. They have interviewed over 34,000 college applicants, led more than 200 Harvard clubs and shared interest groups, and participated in countless public and community service programs. They have spearheaded highly successful reunion and gift committee initiatives, and these efforts alone have drawn nearly 6,600 college alumni and guests to Cambridge this week, and helped generate over 74,000 gifts to the university as of May 23rd. The Harvard College Fund has continued its important work as well, ensuring that the world's best students can bring their talents to Cambridge. Co-chairs Nicholas Sacalari-Otis and Will York provided outstanding volunteer leadership, as did Harvard College Parent Fund co-chairs Lori and Ted Samuels and Jarmel and Peter Sloan, and we owe them a great debt of thanks. Today, we recognize 3 alumni reunion classes, beginning with the Harvard and Radcliffe classes of 1962. In celebration of their 50th reunion, this group is poised to reach both their class gift and class participation goals. Reunion program co-chairs Carlton Akins, Cecily Orenstein Morse, Ann Geis Porter, Peter White are with us, and Reunion Gift Committee co-chairs Peter Beanstalk, Douglas Crocker, Bruce Johnstone, Terrence Murray, Suzanne Young Murray, David Otway, Edward Rasmussen, and Hardwick Simmons. Would you all please stand and be acknowledged? To commemorate their 35th reunion, the Harvard and Radcliffe class of 1977 has set a new standard in volunteer fundraising. This class has a history of breaking reunion records, and it is now, you can clap for yourselves, it's okay. And it has now officially broken the all-time Harvard reunion gift record for any Harvard class in any year by raising an extraordinary $68.7 million. That number even makes the president of Harvard smile a little bit. And by the way, there are still 5 weeks remaining in their campaign. We would like to recognize Reunion Program Committee co-chairs Betsy Hotelling and Diana Krumholtz McDonald, and Reunion Gift Committee co-chairs Steve Ballmer, George Colony, Karen Firestone, Glenn Hutchins, Bob Lindsay, Anand Mahindra, Scott Mead, David Poore, and Ted Samuels. Please stand. In honor of their 25th reunion, the Harvard and Radcliffe class of 1987 is on track to exceed 3 significant reunion goals: total gift, immediate use, and participation. Represented here by Reunion Program co-chairs Alexandra Hauk, Kevin McKinty, and Joanne Michino, and Reunion Gift Committee co-chairs Tim Barracut, Evan Goldberg, Greg Lee, Peter Pulangen, Kathy Ashbrenner, Pate Ramez Susu, and XD Yang. Sorry for the mispronunciations. But please stand so we can thank you for your efforts. In keeping with the time-honored 25th reunion tradition, all the attending members of the class of 1987 are on the platform with us this afternoon, and I ask you to stand as a class and be recognized, and many thanks to you all. Now, would all members of the Harvard College Reunion Program Committees and the Harvard College Fund Reunion Gift Committees please stand and be acknowledged for your incomparable dedication and hard work. And in particular, I would like to recognize Paul Weissman, class of 1952, for chairing his class reunion gift committee for the 60th consecutive year, an all-time Harvard record. Please stand. And now a final word of thanks to our newly minted alumni. The senior class committee, which organizes Class Day and countless other events during the year, is represented on stage today by Bonnie Cow and Lang Park's Loon Tao, the first and second marshals of the class. A second group of seniors, led by co-chairs Alice Karabosovic, Maya Pena, Elihu Reynolds, Elliot Rosenbaum, and Rishab Sinya, conducted a record-breaking senior gift campaign with an outstanding 78% participation rate and the largest senior gift on record. And we'd like the marshals and co-chairs to please stand and be recognized. And once again, congratulations to the entire class of 2012. Harvard's 375th birthday has provided us with a brief moment of reflection. As in the past, we are inspired by your volunteerism and your philanthropy. They propel this great university ever onward, and Harvard is grateful to all of you. Thank you.
Jim, thank you for your report, and as always, for your sound leadership. Please join the Harvard University Band and the Commencement Choir in their performance of Harvardiana. Fabulous. And on that victorious note, let me introduce Harvard's 28th president, a renowned historian, award-winning scholar and educational leader, the founding dean of the Radcliffe Institute for Advanced Study, and for the past 5 years, our president, Drew Gilpin Faust. Oh, sorry, a few words, because this past year I had the opportunity to join President Faust for events with alumni in Mumbai and New Delhi on her inaugural visit to India. While I fortunately and frequently have the occasion to hear President Faust speak at home, I had never heard her speak abroad and was privileged to re-experience her intelligence, warmth, and eloquence as if for the first time. It's easy to forget what an extraordinary influence Harvard and its president have on the world until you see it firsthand, very far away from home. Her determination to ensure that the Harvard Library remains the preeminent university library of the 21st century, and her commitment to the arts, a passion I very much share, are but two of her many accomplishments I'd like to single out today. Now, please join me in welcoming a president who exemplifies the vision, values, and veritas at the heart of everything Harvard represents, President Drew Gilpin Faust.
Thank you. With commencement today, we close our year of commemorating Harvard's 375th birthday. From an exuberant party for 18,000 people in torrential rain and ankle-deep mud here in Tercentenary Theater last fall, to today's invocation of John Harvard's spirit still walking the yard. We have celebrated this special year and the institution's singular and distinguished history. Founded by an act of the Great and General Court of the Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1636, Harvard was the first college in the English colonies and is the oldest in what has become the United States. Harvard was already 140 years old when the nation was founded. There are few institutions in this country or even the world that can claim such longevity. But what does such a claim mean? At a time when the buzzword of innovation is everywhere, when the allure of the new drives business, politics, and society, what do we intend by our celebration of endurance and of history? Why do we see history as an essential part of our identity? Why is Harvard's past an invaluable resource as we decide how to shape the future? In a quite literal sense, history creates our identity, who we as Harvard actually are, and as a result, who we aspire to be. We live in a community made up not just of the students, faculty, staff now here, or even the 300,000 Harvard alumni around the world. We are part of a community that extends across time as well as space. We acknowledge an indelible connection to those who have come before, predecessors both recent and remote, who remind us of what is possible for us by their demonstration of what was possible for them. Harvard's history instills both expectations and responsibilities as it challenges us to inhabit this legacy. One cannot study philosophy here without citing the ghosts of John Rawls, Willard Quine, Benjamin Peirce, Ralph Waldo Emerson, William James. One cannot study law without thinking of the 18 Harvard Law School alumni who have served as Supreme Court justices, including the 6 currently on the bench. not to mention the graduate in the White House and the 7 presidents with Harvard degrees who have preceded him. Those who appear on Harvard stages surely imagine themselves as Jack Lemmon or Natalie Portman or Stockard Channing, directed by the equivalents of Peter Sellers or Diane Paulus or Mira Nair. Or perhaps our aspiring actors see themselves in John Lithgow and Tommy Lee Jones, who returned together for Arts First Weekend last month to reminisce about their thespian adventures in Cambridge. And those seeking to change the world through technology are sure to reflect on Zuckerberg, Ballmer, and Gates. In those domains and so many others, we have the privilege of living alongside a remarkable heritage of predecessors. We've certainly not come to work and study in Cambridge and Boston because of the weather, though this past winter suggests climate change may be altering that. We are drawn here because others before us have set a standard that extends across centuries in its power and its appeal. We think of ourselves in their company. We seek to be worthy of that company and to share our days with others similarly motivated and inspired. We want to contribute as they have contributed in every imaginable field. We want to know, to understand societies, governments, eras, organizations, galaxies, works of art and literature, structures, circuits, diseases, cells. We want to make our lives matter. We want to improve the human condition and build a better world. We want Harvard to ask that of us, to expect that of us, and to equip us to accomplish it. History shapes our institutional ideals as well as our individual ambitions. Having a history diminishes the grip of the myopic present, helping us to see beyond its bounds, to transcend the immediate in search of the enduring. It challenges us to place our aspirations and responsibilities within the broadest context of understanding. We expect the future to be as long as the past. We must act in ways that are not just about tomorrow, but about decades and even centuries to come. This means that we teach our students with the intention of shaping the whole of their lives, as well as readying them for what happens as soon as they leave our gates. This means that in the sciences and beyond, we support research that is driven by curiosity, by the sheer desire to understand, at the same time that we pursue discoveries that have immediate, measurable impact. And it means that we support fields of study of languages, literatures, cultures that are intended to locate us within traditions of reflection about the larger purposes of human existence, enabling us to look beyond ourselves and our own experience to ask where we are going, not just how we get there. Even in our professional schools, designed to educate students for specific vocations, we seek to instill the perspective that derives from the critical eye and the questioning mind. We charge our students to think about lasting value, not just quarterly returns. These commitments shape our institutional identity, our discussions and decisions about what a university is and must be. As both higher education and the world have been transformed, Harvard has not just weathered the past 375 years. It has changed and flourished. from its origins as a small local college designed to produce educated ministers and citizens, to its emergence as a research university in the late 19th century, to its transformation into a national institution and its development after World War II as an engine of scientific discovery and economic growth, as well as a force for significantly broadening social opportunity. We are now in another moment of dramatic shift in higher education. Globalization and technology are prominent among the forces that challenge us once again to examine how we do our work and how we define our aims. This year alone, we have launched a new university-wide initiative to think in fresh ways about our methods of learning and teaching. A new university-wide innovation lab to help our students bring their ideas to life. And edX, a new partnership with MIT to embrace the promise of online learning for our students while sharing our knowledge more widely with the world. As we reimagine ourselves for the 21st century, we recognize that history teaches us not just about continuity, what is important because it's enduring. History also teaches us about change. Harvard has survived and thrived by considering over and over again how its timeless and unwavering dedication to knowledge and truth must be adapted to the demands of each new age. History encourages us to see contingency and opportunity by offering us the ability to imagine a different world. Think of how Harvard changed as we came to recognize that our commitment to fulfilling human potential required us to open our gates more broadly. The continuity of our deepest values led to the transformation of our practices and of the characteristics of the students, faculty, and staff who inhabit and embody Harvard. What was once unimaginable came to seem necessary and even inevitable as we extended the circle of inclusion and belonging to welcome minorities and women, and in recent years to so significantly enhance support for students of limited financial means. Our history provides a compass to steer by, to borrow a phrase from Massachusetts Bay Governor John Winthrop. It fills us with confidence in our purposes and in our ability to surmount the risks of uncharted seas. With the strength of our past, we welcome these unknowns and the opportunities they offer as we reimagine Harvard for the next 375 years. For nearly 4 centuries now, Harvard has been inventing the future. History is where the future begins. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Faust. It's been such a privilege to spend time with you this year, from the Yale Bowl to ballrooms in Bombay and the Charles Hotel. For over 100 years, Radcliffe College embodied women's presence in this university. Many of you are here celebrating Radcliffe reunions. We welcome you back and look forward to seeing you at Radcliffe Day tomorrow. We've now come full circle. Radcliffe College was founded to give women access to a Harvard education. And today, the Radcliffe Institute offers men access to a Radcliffe education. To honor the contributions of Radcliffe College and her alumni, and to mark its historical significance for men and women alike, please stand and join me in singing Radcliffe, now we rise to greet thee. The words are in your program. Our speaker this afternoon is a celebrated thought leader on international affairs named by Foreign Policy as one of the top 100 global thinkers. Perhaps most visible as the host of CNN's flagship International Affairs program, a role he's held since 2008, he's also editor-at-large at Time magazine, a Washington Post columnist, and a New York Times best-selling author. He was introduced as Time editor-at-large in 2010 after a decade as editor of Newsweek International, overseeing all of the magazine's editions abroad. Before this, he was hired at the age of 28 as the managing editor of Foreign Affairs. He's the author of numerous books, articles, and columns, and the recipient of equally numerous honors, including a National Magazine Award in 2001 for his influential Newsweek cover story, Why They Hate Us. Born in Mumbai, our speaker did venture to Yale to receive his bachelor's degree, but continued on to Harvard, thus perhaps dashing poor Eli's hopes, as we all just sang a moment ago, studying with Samuel P. Huntington and Stanley Hoffman to earn a PhD in political science. He's a respected scholar, a talented journalist, and one of our foremost alumni voices on global affairs. Please join me in welcoming Fareed Zakaria.
Thank you so much. President Faust, fellows of the corporation, members of the Board of Overseers, ladies and gentlemen, above all, students, graduating students, thank you so much for asking me to do this. I have to say to the students here, you are already way ahead of me. You see, I actually have never made my commencement either from college or from my PhD program. I did, as you heard, go to a small college south of here in a little town called New Haven, and I perhaps got it wrong and celebrated a little bit too much the night before commencement. And so the honest truth is I slept through my college commencement. When I finally made it to Harvard, I got a job before commencement and I had to be working in New York, couldn't take the day off. I got my degree in the mail. So 19 years later, I am finally honored to receive in person a Harvard degree. Thank you. Harvard was for me a dazzling revelation. Contrary to the conventional wisdom on this campus, it is possible to get a fine education at Yale, which I did, but the great graduate programs of Harvard in their scope, in their scale, in their worldliness and ambition were just an electric experience, and I soaked it in. Now, to get a PhD involves many, many hours of grueling work. It also involves many hours of goofing off, acquiring hobbies and interests, and exploiting the great resources of this university. I mean the libraries and the cafes. And I did all of that and gained from it immeasurably. I learned from faculty, from students, from visitors. But what I remember most was that Harvard is the place that I learned to think. And I owe this university, as a result, a deep debt of gratitude, something I think all of you share with me, and something the Development Office will remind you of from time to time. I've always been wary of making commencement speeches. I don't think of myself as old enough to really have any wisdom to impart. But there is nothing like having children to remind you of how old you are. My 9-year-old daughter is here with me now, or to remind you of how deeply uncool you are. So I'm going to take on this task with some trepidation. The best commencement speech I ever heard of was by Art Buchwald, the humorist. It was short, it was brief. He simply said, "Ladies and gentlemen, remember, we are leaving you a perfect world. Don't screw it up." Now, you're not likely to hear that message much these days. Instead, you're likely to hear that we are living in grim economic times. The graduates are going to be told that they are graduating into the slowest economic recovery since World War II. And it's not just economic worries. Ever since 9/11, we have been worried about terrorism, fearful of the dangers of new attacks, and in many ways altered our daily lives. Then there are larger concerns you hear about. The earth is getting hotter, we're running out of water, 1 billion people are trapped in terrible poverty. So I want to sketch out for you, perhaps with a little bit of historical perspective, the world as I see it. The world we live in is, first of all, at peace, profoundly so. The richest countries of the world are not in major geopolitical, geomilitary competition with one another. No arms races, no proxy races, no wars, no cold wars among the richest countries of the world. You would have to go back hundreds of years to find an equivalent period of political stability. I know that you see a bomb going off in Afghanistan or hear of a terror plot in New York and worry about the safety and security of our times. But here's the data. The number of people who have died as a result of war, civil war, and yes, terrorism is down 50% this decade from the 1990s. It is down 75% from the preceding 5 decades. It is down, of course, 99% from the decade before that, which was World War II. Steven Pinker argues that we are living in the most peaceful times in human history, and he should know because he is a Harvard professor. The political stability that we've experienced has allowed the creation of a single global economy that has allowed countries from all over the world to participate and flourish. In 1980, the number of countries that were growing at 4% a year, robust growth, was about 60. By 2007, that number had doubled. And even after the financial crisis, that number stands today at about 80. So countries around the world are thriving and flourishing in a way that was previously unimaginable. Even if in the current decade, with all this slow growth, the global economy as a whole will grow 10 to 20% faster than it did last decade, 60% faster than it did 2 decades ago, and 5 times as fast as it did 3 decades ago. The result is that the United Nations estimates in the last 50 years, poverty has been reduced more than in the preceding 500 years. Most of that reduction has taken place in the last 20. The average Chinese person is today 10 times richer than he or she was 50 years ago, with 25 years more of life expectancy. Life expectancy has risen across the world dramatically. We gain 5 hours of life expectancy every day. Imagine that without even exercising. A third of all the babies born in the developed world this year will live to be 100. All this is, of course, because of rising standards of living, of hygiene and medicine. Atul Gawande, another Harvard professor, who is also a practicing surgeon, who also writes for the New Yorker magazine, tells of a 19th century operation, perhaps not so uncommon, in which a surgeon was trying to amputate a patient's leg. He succeeded. He also, however, amputated his assistant's hand. The two patients, I suppose one would call them, died of sepsis. An onlooker died of shock. It is the only known medical procedure to have a 300% fatality. We've come a long way. To understand the astonishing age of progress, just look at the cell phones you have in your pockets. And yes, I know many of you don't have them in your pockets. They're already out. You're looking at them right now. That cell phone has more computing power than the Apollo space capsule that went to the moon. That capsule couldn't even tweet. So imagine the opportunities that lie ahead. Moore's law, which says that computing power will double every 18 months while costs halve, may be petering out in the realm of information technology, but there are other arenas in which it is accelerating. The human genome is being sequenced at a pace faster than Moore's law. A third industrial revolution involving material science and the customization of manufacturing is yet in its infancy. And all these fields are beginning to intersect and produce new opportunities in ways that we can't even imagine. The good news goes on. Look at the number of graduates globally from colleges. That number has risen fourfold in the last 40 years for men. It has risen sevenfold for women. And if you're wondering whether or not that age-old question, are women smarter than men, has been answered, the evidence is now overwhelming. The answer is yes. My favorite example of this is that there was a study done that over the last 25 years, female representatives, members of the House of Representatives, have managed to get $49 million more in federal grant money than their male counterparts. So even at pork barrel spending, it turns out women are better than men. And so I look forward from the villages in Africa to the boardrooms of America to the increasing participation of women, which is going to enrich and ennoble our world. Now you might listen to all this and say, well, this is all very good for the world, but what does it mean for America? Well, a world at peace and broader prosperity, the rise of the rest, is going to be particularly good for the United States. Because let me remind you, this is the country with the largest and most dynamic economy in the world, that hosts hundreds of the world's greatest companies, that dominates the age of technology. It has within it almost all of the world's great universities. There is in China and India no Harvard, and there will not be for decades, perhaps ever. The United States is also a vital society. It is the only country in the industrialized world that is demographically vibrant. We add 3 million people to this country every year. That is itself a powerful life force, and it is made stronger by the fact that so many of these people are immigrants. We, come to this country with aspirations, with drive, with determination, and we develop a fierce love of this country. America in 2050 will have a better demographic profile than China. So this country has its problems, but I would rather have America's problems than most any other countries in the world. When I tell you that we're living in an astonishing age of progress, I am not urging complacency, far from it. We have been through a century of extraordinary troubles, world wars, depressions, cold wars, and dozens of other smaller challenges. But each of those challenges has been met by a response. Human action and human achievement have managed to take on and best terrible problems. We forget our successes. In 2009, the H1N1 virus broke out in Mexico. Now, if you look back at the trajectory of these kinds of viruses, it's quite conceivable that this one would have spread like the Asian flu of 1957 or 1968, which cost 4 million lives. But this time, the Mexican health authorities identified the problem early, shared the information with the World Health Organization, learned best practices, tracked down where the outbreak took place, quarantined people, vaccinated others. The country went on a full-scale alert. In a very Catholic country, it was not allowed to go to church for 3 Sundays. Perhaps more importantly, you couldn't go to a soccer game for 3 weeks. But the result was that the virus was contained to the point where 3 months later, people asked what was the fuss and wondered whether we had overreacted. We hadn't overreacted, we had reacted, we had responded, and we had dealt with the problem. There are other examples. In the 12 months following the economic peak in 2008, industrial production worldwide fell as much as it did in the first year of the Great Depression. Equity prices and global trade actually fell more. Yet this time, no Great Depression followed. Why? Because of the coordinated actions of governments around the world. 9/11 did not usher in an age of terrorism with Al-Qaeda going from strength to strength. Why? Because countries cooperated in fighting them and other terror groups around the world with considerable success. When we come together, when we put aside our petty differences, when we cooperate, the results are astounding. So when we look at all these problems we face, economic crises, terrorism, climate change, resource scarcity, keep in mind that these are real problems, but that the human reaction and response to them will be real. You can easily map out the big problem, but it's much more difficult to map out the thousands of individual actions that governments, firms, organizations, researchers, scientists, and ordinary people will take that will collectively constitute the solution. In a sense, I'm betting on the graduates of this great university. I believe that your actions will have consequences. Your efforts will make a difference. And turning to the graduates, I know at this kind of event, I'm supposed to provide some advice. So, should you go into nanotechnology or bioengineering? And the answer is, I haven't a clue. I honestly don't know what the great trends of the future or industries of the future will be. But I do know one thing, that human beings will probably continue to reward those talents of heart and mind that they have always rewarded for thousands of years. Intelligence, hard work, discipline, courage, perhaps above all, love and faith. These are the things that at the end of the day make for a great life, one that is rewarded by the outside world, and equally importantly, a good life, one that is rewarded by only those you know best. These are the virtues that people honor. These are the virtues that people have built statues for 5,000 years, and to which they will build statues for the next 5,000 years. Well, nobody builds statues anymore. They build weird metal modernist sculptures with strange doodads going off, hanging off them, but you get my general point. Trust yourself. You know what kind of life you should live. You don't need an ethics course to tell you what not to do. Trust in your instincts and you will build a great life, you will build a good life, and you will change the world. You know, I said at my age that I don't have much specific wisdom to impart. I have one final piece of advice for the graduates, and it is a piece of advice that is gained from experience, not books. Trust me about this. You will never understand how much your parents love you until you have children of your own. Once you have children of your own, all that strange behavior, the stalking, the worrying, will all make sense. But do me a favor, don't wait so long. My mother lives 8,000 miles away, and I think about this every day. Don't wait so long. Get up today of all days and hug your parents and tell them you love them. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and to the graduates of Harvard, Godspeed.
Thank you, Mr. Zakaria. Fantastic. Oh, don't sit down if you haven't yet, because I need you to join me now as we sing Fair Harvard. The words are also in your program. Let me once again welcome and congratulate the class of 2012. We hope you'll come back to Cambridge as often as you can, but we also hope you'll remember that Harvard is where you are and wherever you choose to go. I now hereby declare the 2012 meeting of the Harvard Alumni Association adjourned to reconvene on the 30th of May, 2013. Thank you all for coming.
And so that concludes the 143rd annual meeting of the Harvard Alumni Association as part of Harvard's 361st commencement in its 375th year. The 28th president of Harvard, Drew Faust, intertwined the history of Harvard with the plans for the future. Our history is a compass to live by, she said, and that Harvard has set a standard across the centuries with its intellectual and academic power and appeal that will continue. She cited the accomplishments of the past year, including the founding of the Hauser Institute for Teaching and Learning, the Harvard Innovation Lab, and a partnership with MIT called edX to provide online learning of Harvard courses. And she also reiterated Harvard's commitment to diversity, welcoming women, minorities, and students from around the world. Jeffrey?
Fareed Zakaria was very upbeat, and it was wonderful. He started by saying he'd slept through his commencement at Yale, where he was an undergraduate, never able to attend his Harvard, where he got his doctorate. Said Harvard, however, was the place he learned to think. And he sees the world with kind of good news lenses on all the way around. It's at peace. There are no major wars anywhere. The people who are dead from conflict is down profoundly over the last half century. Countries are thriving in ways previously unimaginable, and life expectancy is up across the globe. As far as this country is concerned, he said the U.S. is the only country that is demographically vital of the major countries in the world, and he'd rather have our problems than any other country in the world. He gave a final piece of advice, saying you will never understand how much your parents love you, this to undergraduates graduating, until you have children of your own. So hurry up and tell your parents how much you love them.